Greetings. Thanks for being here. Okay, so I'm going to chat why I make some candles, which is something I've thought about a jillion times. I'm going to close that door. But never thought to actually do. So I'm doing it because I have some exciting news and more. But we're going to start with some sound. And what I'm going to use is, there we go, harmonica. This is one of my favorites also. Okay. My dog also loves it. So some little side note things about the harmonica. If you have lung problems and you want to help increase your lung capacity, harmonica is great. And also you can do stretches and walking with the harmonica in your mouth, and you're doing a double thing. You're bringing in the sound vibration and you are stimulating your own vocal cords or your own breath through the harmonica. You can check it out. There's actually studies on how the harmonica has helped people with breathing, lung stuff. Okay, so let's start with the 9-day calendar first. And I'm going to show you how I make candles at the same time and where I get the stuff from if you guys are ever, interested in making candles yourself. I started making candles years ago because one of my friends was making candles and I got into it. I think it's pretty cool. And these are soy, so they're natural, meaning they're not made out of petroleum. Okay, so today on the Gregorian calendar is May 30th. And on the 9-day calendar, guess what day it is? Mars Day. Guess what day it is on the Gregorian calendar? Mars Day. So I am not surprised that I'm feeling like a sense of action, a little upliftment, and the energy of, this is a good day to reclaim your power, do reclaiming your power exercises, and put things into action. Warrior mode, without, because there is also the balance. And then, okay, so you've been listening to me. Where's the wax? First, we'll start with, here's the wax. I wanted to wait until I started the video. And I use one of these like recycled cup things. And I have a pitcher. And I have it on, we have an electric stove. Gas stoves I think are a little bit better for pretty much everything. Because you have a little bit more control over the heat. But on an electric stove, I put it on medium. On a gas stove, you could probably put it a little lower even. So these are flakes, natural soy flakes. I get my wax from Lone Star Candle Supply Company in Texas because I think they have the best prices. They offer a lot of different options as far as wax. They have a lot of stuff. And I even get my wicks from there. I did go off brand and I was not very happy with the wicks. So I prefer the wicks from there, and it's kind of like a hit and miss, but they are cotton. And I like that about them. Okay. And then I also get fragrance from them. So my favorite, we're going to try that one. We'll see. My favorite is frankincense and myrrh. It's like it's just very mellow. It's not overpowering. It's not too flowery. It's not too musky. It's not overpowering. It burns nicely. But I've also got lemongrass and sage and you know, different scents. Okay. Now, back to the, so I've got the wax on the burner. It's going to melt slowly. I have candle holders, everything ranging from things I've gotten at the dollar store or, you know, Dollar Tree, to gifts recycled, and even jars. Okay. And I have a variety. And I may play with color today, but we'll see. We'll see if we even get that far. Okay, so one of the things I've been recently studying is something called the Poly Vagal Theory. Now, the reason why it's called polyvagal is because we have a vagus nerve, and our vagus nerve connects to, this is all tying into like the healing stuff and my theories about the big giant spell. Like, it is really mind-blowing to me, and it also very affirming and exciting because we can change it. Okay, so with this theory, is a Dr. Stephen Porges, and if I remember the story correctly, he was in the military and left the military at some point in his life and started studying the vagus nerve. And most of us already know the basics of the vagus nerve, which is fight or flight, and or like, especially in the healing industry, massage industry, it's called parasympathetic, meaning, or homeostasis, where you basically feel good. You're like in a good mood, you feel healthy, you're eating well, and even if you don't eat that well, it doesn't really affect you. But your overall goal is to maintain, you know, that stasis. And there are many things that we've learned from talk therapy to EMDR to Reiki, massage, exercise, yoga, meditation, changing your diet. My goodness, more water, more for, you know, like there's so many things out there nowadays that kind of gear us into where we can, I don't think I need 2 this time. Maybe I should just try one. Gear us into healing. And we've been learning about like trauma and how trauma affects the body and how it gets trapped in the body. Okay. Well, the polyvagal theory, the theory is, okay, and wait, before I get to that. So your nervous system goes from the back of your head, or your vagus nerve, from the back of your head, goes all the way down, goes through your arms, through your lungs and your heart and your chest, all the way down to your legs. Okay? Now, it also, it has like 2 parts. It has from your diaphragm up and then from your diaphragm down. And this explains so many things with so much dis-ease. And I said in other videos where I feel like those that, you know, control the media and control education and control a lot of things, know these things. This is why I theorize that we come in with our highest DNA, not that we've manipulated, like they pulled a piece of our DNA out. I think it's more about them understanding like the old ways and the old magic, and then using our own magic against us, as I've talked about this before, to the point to where we're so miseducated that we don't even understand like how much real power we have within our own bodies, with each other, and actually how we're all connected. So with that part, me saying that diaphragm part, there's another example is as above, so below. Meaning, if your vagus nervous system is in a certain level, because if you look up the Poly Vagal Theory, there's actually 3 instead of just 2. That can be mostly affected in these. Well, you will see that you can help shift the programming by working with your diaphragm and that part. Okay, so like your diaphragm up, right, is where most of your organs are, is where your lungs are, and then the rest of the way down is like your support system. So if you can balance out your nervous system and bring in a calm nervous system, then the rest of the body can flourish. And this is why we have all these things to share with people. But here's the tricky one. This one, it makes sense. Okay. So the nervous system is automatic. I'm going to help you understand that, because we already, like getting hungry, like most of the time it's a signal that's being sent to you, basically from your stomach and from your body, saying, hey, we need some energy, we need this. It's like the button in the car where you're not controlling that. You're not like, tell my stomach it's hungry. Okay, so what's interesting about our bodies and the nervous system, and if you know about like child psychology and you understand body development, you understand that when we're very young, most of our characteristics and most of our personality, or how we're going to receive into the world, is programmed in between infants and about 3 years old. Some people say 5. Okay, well, your nervous system is continuously gaining information. It's always looking out for you, because the saying is a saber-toothed tiger, or there might be a threat. So you're always aware. So when you're home and you've had a nice bath and it's warm, it's usually a feeling of safety. It can depend on your experiences in life, because some trauma responses are people will stay up later, especially in their adult life, because they knew going to bed was actually unsafe. Right? So or these different things. But that's the nervous system. That's literally the nervous system being like, okay, well, this situation I've been trained to recognize is not safe. Now, you become aware of this and you're like, okay, I want to change this. I want to help reprogram my nervous system. Or you start realizing, oh, okay, this is one of my patterns. But a lot of the things I've been saying, like watch yourself, listen to yourself, pay attention to what you're doing. How are your responses? How are your reactions? So that is a beginning of reprogramming the mind, because what's happening is, and this is just coming to me, but I'm sure this is out there too. Just by thinking of it, you're kind of letting your system know that you're not in a threat, and you're actually allowing your like inner self to try to figure out why your body is perceiving this as a threat, right? So that's huge. That's resilience. And oftentimes what will happen is, like, the way I describe it is like, you're talking to yourself in your own brain. And part of you is like, I'm safe. And then the other part of your brain is like, well, remember the last time this happened? Were you safe then? And then the other side's like, well, that's true. And then kind of what happens is my heart rate will speed up. Guess what else happens? Your ears start to kind of close down. So this is why when you're in a conflicting argument with somebody, and even if they're yelling, and probably why they start yelling is because we're feeding off each other's nervous systems. If you all of a sudden perceive a threat, well, even if I didn't perceive a threat, my nervous system's like, whoa, that person's perceiving a threat. There's a threat. So as we're working through reprogramming, this is where there will be a fight in your own nervous system. Because your nervous system was like, wait a second. Fawning kept us safe. People pleasing kept us safe. Yelling and screaming and yelling and kind of dominating that kept us safe. So when we're starting to practice new ways of regulating the nervous system, it's going to fight itself. Because it's going to be like, no. If we don't people please, we are not going to be safe. Meanwhile, you are recognizing like, oh my gosh, I'm a people pleaser. I gotta stop doing that. That's why the first few times you say no or you stop being a people pleaser, that feeling inside of you, your heart kind of starts racing. You get this feeling all over you, like, oh my gosh, I just did something terrible. That's because your nervous system is literally sending that signal through your body. So, we've been saying the more we practice those things, the less it affects the nervous system, but I'm actually realizing that we can bring in tools to help us as we're going through that. And these are like poses you can do. Like one of the ones that I learned on TED Talks, open your legs, specifically women, because we're kind of taught to like keep our hips tight and our legs, right? So you open your legs and you open your arms. And you kind of drop your shoulders back so that you're in almost like a dancing dignity pose. I think I might need to pause. I think my mom's coming in. She is. Okay. So I'm going to pause. Dignity pose. Ways to help through it. Okay. I'm going to pause. I'll be back. Okay. So we can do certain poses. While we were on pause, something came to mind too, which is this theory also helps with understanding why when you get into a certain place that could be like really, really low, why it could take so long to get back up to feeling. So the way they defined it is, please look it up. This is not my information. This is out there. Like I said, it was developed by Stephen Porges. But it also helps me understand like narcissistic relationships. What is Stockholm Syndrome? Where why it works. Mental. One of the things that was brought up in the video is, so some of what I was learning. If you go back and watch some of my older videos, I'm talking about the things we used to have to wear, and they might have gotten taken off actually, but I commented on how, well, also with our phones and computers, how we're always looking down. Well, when we're doing that, it's actually cutting off information from our vagus nerve to the rest of our body. Did you know that? They knew that. And you repeat certain information and it gets stored into the system. And I also thought about this when it comes to all the slavery stories. They've been taught to us over and over and over. And the reason why I mentioned that is because I've learned that a lot of those stories are not what we were told. They were, I'm not going to say brutality didn't happen, but some of the stories are greatly exaggerated so that we trauma bond with the information. And you know what happens? That affects our nervous system. So then what happens when we see someone else that doesn't look like us or looks like somebody that we perceived as a threat? What's going to happen in our nervous system? All this stuff. Constant. And guess what? We have constant threats. Threats like, we don't pay your bills. So, because the basic survival is like food, water, shelter, right? Food, water, shelter. And then from there, like, one of the comments they kept saying is safety is a luxury. And I've expressed these kind of conversations with divine masculines because some of that is where that comes from. And it used to be something that we could rely on that on giving to women, but this changed over years and also repeated. And there are definitely differences in the way that certain bodies receive information from itself. More fatty bodies tend to have a softer response, and the less fatty bodies tend to have a less soft response. Not that they're not soft, and not that softer bodies can't be like aggressive and hard, but this is what the research shows. And so when it comes to programming, even in school, what are you doing? You're looking down, writing, looking down. And now, so this is why things like sports activities, singing and dancing and music were, I think, pulled out of the systems, the major systems, because these things restored. These things are restorative to the nervous system, to the body, to the spirit. So, safety is key. And like I said, there are many things. There are actual threats, and there are things that our nervous system will perceive as a threat. And then if you have stored trauma, okay, so if you have stored memory in your nervous system that is geared to protect you, because is it really, now I'm understanding, is it a trauma response or is it a nervous system response? I think it's a nervous system response, because of course, like through things like EMDR and also tapping, I didn't mention that one before, you help the body and the nervous system, even subconsciously, even if you're not fully aware, because I think it's all also built into us, it helps, heal those certain things. So when you have like continuous, even if you are like watching things or hearing things that may trigger that part of the nervous system, so what can be subconsciously happening is new neuroprogramming as to how to defend yourself. And so what that does is it breeds cortisol. And if anybody knows about all these things we were talking about, we know how it affects the body, all the way to the point to where it creates dis-ease. And we can bring in certain parts. So I was talking about like certain poses, and it made me think of ballerinas. You know, ballerinas, this is their posture, right? And they're strong but flexible. And that's what we want to be. And we want our nervous system to be strong and flexible. But also through this, I think this time and these exercises, what we're learning is that how this program is actually deeper than just some of the things that we've seen. It's literally to manipulate the nervous system. And what we're figuring out is we can redo it. And so some things that came to my mind also is the tree of life. Because if you just look at the vagus nervous system, the vagus nerve itself, the whole component of it, it looks like this weird tree. Like the brain would be the roots, and then the rest of it would be the tree. And what was the other thing? Tree of life. Oh, I already said above and below. As above, so below. So, art is another thing. Okay, so the wax is almost melting. Creativity. This is speaking about it. These are all helpful things, but predominantly overall, and this is why I mention it, because there has been awareness that in our world, women do not feel safe in the way that men do. And this was before this information about the polyvagal nervous system is that, for example, like typically, I think I just saw a video, but typically, like if you're leaving late from class or you're leaving late from work and it's dark outside, there's kind of like this natural notion inside of our bodies. I mean, this is our nervous system, but I do feel like it might be a little bit more prominent for women. And then that can trickle into actual unsafety. If you were traumatized as a child, you're going to see that as unsafe, even if it's safe. And that's what can also happen to the nervous system. Because my theory is that this is kind of where the narcissistic codependent relationship can really kind of like manifest, because the nervous systems they are neurocepting from it. They are actually signaling each other that the other one is safe, because that's the environment the nervous system is used to. What? So this is deep, I think the information is important, because all of the effects of those type of relationships are in the ladder of the dorsal vagal, of the polyvagal theory. And then you can see how a narcissist, continued repetitive abuse or trauma can affect somebody. And then the other thing is, you don't actually have to be doing the thing that created the trauma. That's why I was talking about the slave story, because it's not happening, but we've literally taught our neural systems, and it goes both ways. The neural systems have been taught this look, this color, this sound, this even class is to be perceived in the way that we've been repeatedly taught to receive it and perceive it. It's stored in the nervous system. You know how much? And I've been having deja vu, like a whoa. Like, that's why it's worked. So I think we weren't, so like when we talk about like the energies of the world and part of the spell is, I think we weren't supposed to figure this out. I don't think they wanted us to figure out it's stored in our system. So if it's stored in our system, and like I said, like some of us will automatically, okay, it's completely melted. So now I'm going to pull it out. I usually set it just on top of the next burner because, I don't know, I theorize it cools better. I don't know. I could be wrong. Just a theory. And these glasses are all clean, although some of them I could probably have dusted before I started doing this. Goodness sakeys. Trying to spell. I apologize. I do that, you guys. I'm distracted easily. That programming. I mean, it begins as childhood. Even if you may grow up in a fairly, supportive home, there are things that you can see that are affecting the nervous system in all different kinds of aspects, from school to home to church to what else? To even like counseling and relationship advice. I mean, because a lot of this information that's coming out about the nervous system is fairly new. It's not brand new, but it is a fairly new theory, and there's plenty of evidence to support this. There's plenty of research to support this theory. It helped me a lot because I felt a lot of shame in my decisions as far as like relationships, and specifically recently because I've had some like breakups with friends, and just felt like kind of like, I don't know, a little perplexed, and obviously, like hurt, but that's just normal. And but my theory has always been like we're supposed to heal, but also, what? A little bit of like, what? When I learned this, I thought, oh, well, this is what everybody's going through as they're reprogramming or healing. There are parts of them that are also going to fight it. And the nervous system might that's where I was going before, is that the nervous system can also misguide us. That's, I feel like that's why I went into a not so healthy relationship, thinking I had, healed a bunch of those things. But realistically, like, if I'm not in a relationship, how am I really going to heal it? I guess if maybe, well, I mean, how do you come upon that information unless you're going through it? Because, well, it's all fairly new information, because there wasn't a lot of information when I was growing up about narcissistic abuse, because like how I heard somebody talking about it is like, we grew up being like, that person's a cheater, or that person's a drinker, or that person has, anger issues. We didn't understand like they also might be or have been, narcissistically abused in ways that we didn't perceive as abuse or neglect. And so all this information coming out makes sense, because we're getting all these tools. Like, this is so all those tools help. What I've started doing is, I think I mentioned in my last video, is essential oils. And I even forgot a little bit the other day, and then I was like, oh yeah, and use them, and immediately felt a shift in my my body and in my mood. So, okay, I think that part's really exciting, and it makes sense as to why I waited on classes and healing the mother wound and the womb and all of that, because I think this is all tied in. Like, this is why. So, healing the nervous system and safety, and that's the thing. Like, if you can bring in, and you can even make stuff up, like you're in a dragon's lair and you're surrounded by a bunch of dragons. Or if you're scared of dragons, you're in a, field of angels, and they all have their, like, powers. And, you can imagine, because sometimes it's hard to actually create a safe space on this realm, because we've been in so many unsafe situations, and we're perpetuated with unsafe feelings on a daily basis, like bills and being late, or having to pick somebody up, or going to the grocery store. Like, those are all little tiny triggers of like, so it's finding time to, and even in those moments, like, even as I was talking about, like, my breath speeds up, I feel a little bit of pressure, like, it's good to even recognize that, like, oh, that's how I'm feeling. Okay, there's no threat. Actually, everything's fine, right? And then, yes, finding time to meditate and all of those. And what really came to my mind is the metta prayer. I think it's a Buddhist prayer, and I think I've spoken about it before, but one of the sayings in it is, may I be safe, and safety for the world. And that's the key, because as long as we can project non-safety, then there is something automatically happening within the nervous system. And this is why I go back to like words and symbols and sounds and vibration, because that's what your nervous system is. This giant, was that the other one? Oh, it's like a sea creature, because it's literally swimming in our bodies, right? It kind of looks like a what are those called? Jellyfish. We call them jellyfish. So, okay. So I'm gonna go back to the candles real quick. So, some companies supply you with like stickers, so you can really stick the. I'll just show you a little picture real quick, where you can really stick the wick onto the. Is that a sticker? No, that's wax. The sticker looks just like that. That's weird. And then you peel it off, and then underneath, because it's a double-sided sticky thing, and you stick it on the bottom. I don't like those, because I found when I would take them off at the end that sometimes it was really difficult. You can soak them in a little bit of rubbing alcohol to take those off. Okay. But I like to use the wax. So what I do is I put a couple drops of wax in the bottom, and then I shove the bottom of the wick into that. And like this one, actually, I can put a little bit more over it. And I do it while it's cooling, because just a little bit will harden quite quickly. And then by the time the wax is cooled, it won't melt, because I have done that, where I end up melting all these off because I poured the wax too soon. It won't melt it, because it will be solidified, and the wax won't be warm enough to actually remelt the wax that's already in there, if that helps. And then what I do, once these are solidified and I feel good about them being nice and solid on the bottom, and there's all kinds of tools that you can get with some of these, where they have like a piece of paper that helps you kind of dial in where the center is and what size wick you might need. But just like, you know, what we're talking about, I've done this enough times that I feel like I get it pretty centered and know the mixtures. But, you know, it's fun to play and let you guys know. And then what I'll do next is I will, what a lot of people do is I'll put the scent in the wax. I put the scent in the jar and then pour the wax over it. I like it. Somebody will tell you you shouldn't do that, so I'll just put that out there. And then I would like to steady the wick with like this. These are old. I've had these for a long time, where they have a little hole in them. But if you don't have something like this, you can use like a pen, or if you're an artist, you can use paint brushes, knowing that you're going to use them again, and you can bend the wick over the pen or whatever it is and just kind of let it hold there. Sometimes you might need like a little piece of tape or something to hold it, because the idea is that you want to steady the wick in the middle so that when you pour the wax in, the wick won't move. Or if it does move, you have an easy way of moving the wick without like putting your hands in there or getting the wax dirty or anything like that. Moving on. What was the next thing I was going to talk about? I talked about the healing. I talked about the months and the 9-day. Something else I was excited to talk about. Well, I think that's a pretty good video for today. Oh, so what I'll do is, I guess I'll pause it. Will I pause it? What I'll do is I'll end up taking some pictures of the candles. Oh, here's a good example. See, this one doesn't have And so I'm just gonna, I'll show you what I do. So I'm gonna bend it down and around, because the idea is that I can still move it around, right? But it still stays up. But it doesn't have a hole in it. Oh! Okay. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. So this will be my last little Sybil's Goddess message before I jump off. Okay. So on another channel, Cassandra, I can't remember her middle name, Floyd. You can put it in to YouTube and her channel comes up and she's got some great information. And recently she started breaking down a movie, and she was talking about some of the Orishas. Well, I don't know why, but for some reason I always feel like information changes over time, and I have done some research about the Orishas, and I'm doing some work on it right now, learning about my own, like Ori and things like that. But one of the deities that I've always really been drawn to, is one of my favorites, is Oya. And I learned about her years ago after like walking home one day and all this wind and all this stuff is going on, and I was like, well, who's that? So I looked her up. So I recently was looking her up. Now, if you watch some of my older videos, I did a video about Breed, or as many call her, Bridget, but the G is technically silent. And in the description, I have a book called The Goddesses, and by Monahan, also the last name is Monahan. And in there, the description of Breed is the golden red woman, or the red golden woman, the reddish gold woman. And I was like, that sounds like a possibly maybe a brown person with maybe golden hair, which a lot of lighter brown people look, or as indigenous people look, right? So I was like, So I did a painting of her. Okay, painting drawing. So I'm going to show you. This was my interpretation of Breed, and it's kind of hard to tell in here because of the lighting, but so I put several things that are already symbols of her, which is her cross, which is typically woven with certain reeds, certain like wheat and reeds, fire, but also water, and some of the other things. Well, her coloring, which is, I think, kind of reddish golden. Well, when I was making it, I made her hair purple. Now, why am I showing you guys this? So in my more recent research of Oya, her equal in the Celtic religion is Breed. It's Bridget. And I thought, and I made her hair like purple in this, and her skin is a little purplish along with the red, and I just thought, you guys, this is how it goes, right? This is how it goes. The more we learn, the more we learn. And then there's another channel. Oh, I don't remember. Her name is super simple. But she is talking about the Essene writings and some of the, like, what is supposed to be the original Essene writings. And that is really eye-opening as to the goddess divine feminine and divine masculine, how it's described, and how they speak about kind of like today's times and those times. But I feel like this information wasn't shared with us. So both of these channels that I'm sharing you about have really opened my eyes to things. Like, I already decode things. I already feel like I research things. This is like a whole new way of researching things. I think it's pretty awesome. And because in the breakdown of the movie that Cassandra was doing, she mentions the color purple. And what I recognize is like, Oya's color is purple, and that was before I researched her again and saw that she's linked to greed, although I feel like I've heard that before. And I hope you guys don't think I'm just like if you hear my mom in the background, my mom that raised me in the background, this is something that's happened to her entire life, and she spoke too soon because she was just saying how she hadn't coughed all morning. But this is something that happens. It's not, I'm ignoring it, but it's because there's nothing I can do about it. She will take care of it, but this is part of something that happens. And if anything, send some healing, thoughts to that. That's typically what I do, and I try to bring in the goddess, help out with that. So I just found that pretty cool. I feel like I have mentioned that before. I might have figured that out, but I don't remember that. I don't remember that link. So that was the other one I want to share with you. And then as far as energies and divine messages, this is one of them. Like, try some of the things out that you've thought about and talked about. And one of the theories I had was like 30 days of art, meaning while I'm speaking or while I'm sharing information, we do art. Oh, those are too thick. We do some art, share some art, talk about some of the art. We talk about candles, the magic of candles, and where that even came from. So, the original idea of candles was to have light. It wasn't anything, witchy, so to speak. And a form of protection, because if you had light, you could see what was going on. So, for me, candles have always, like, how I grew up and learned about the lore of candles was candles were used to signal those who had passed over how to come back home if they needed to. It also was a signal to those who were lost, quote unquote, at war, as to how to find home. And I do believe that there is some lore about putting candles in the windows, I think during like the World War, I'm sorry, like the, what do we have over here? The Civil War. Why do we call it the Civil War? Oh, that's the other thing I want to do, some breakdowns. One of the words is Caesarian. Caesar. Arian. So I think they're trying to give credit to Caesar's time for that, but Caesarians and all that stuff were way older than that. Way older than that. And what was the other word that I learned? Nervous system. What was the other one? Nerve-us. It's like they're literally telling us. The nerve-us system. It's like the nerves of all of us, because we literally do, like, without control, respond to other people. Okay, what was one of the other words? I do have it written down. This is too thick. I wonder if that candle was what was the word. I don't remember the other words. But as far as like the energies and such, so, okay, there's some of the basics, which is like, we'll slowly be, we're just about out of Mercury's shadow. What she's telling me is, enjoy this. We're going to continue to keep having kind of these waves. So like, enjoy this peaceful time right now, because I see. So as we do get new information of healing, and we do continue to rise, like in that aspect, what we're eating, how we can help each other through this and help ourselves through it, there will be like things that show up to kind of like push back. It's pushback. Don't let them heal. Don't let them figure stuff out. Don't let them tell the truth. Don't let them, but it's free will. And this kind of information, like, we can focus the planet in a safe planet and literally create that reality. Oh my gosh. That's why we're banned from the universe, or so to speak, or we can't fly around, or we're in quarantine, or whatever it is because we're not safe. We don't even feel safe, like, us as people. Okay, this is getting cooler, so I'm just going to show you. So, another one I do like is sage and citrus. Kind of has like a baby powder smell, but it's also pretty soft. So I'm going to put it in the green jar, so I remember that's sage and citrus. And I pour just enough, kind of cover the base. Let's see, let's do one more. We'll do it in this one, even though it's reddish color, just to remember that, like the leaves on it, because I will forget. Alright, and then we'll do the frankincense and myrrh. Oh, let's turn this up. I don't like that. Frankincense, we're going to have to order some more. I thought I had more. So one of these is mine. Like, I make it specifically for myself. I'm cooking that one. Not a lot left. So we're in the little iridescent one. And then I might do we'll do a little one like this one. A little like tea light. I'll put a wick in there first and put the smell kit in there. But okay, how long have I been recording? Almost an hour. Okay. So I think that's a good healthy dose of information. Oh yeah, the energies. But a lot of us, you are going to start seeing, like, let's call them subtle miracles. Like, it's all has to be in balance, right? So like whatever might be like, over there is going to be like, over there, right? There has to be balance. Can't be out of balance. So, which I think was like the point, was to try to make everything out of balance. But we're figuring it out. We're healing, we're learning, we're practicing healing. Just the thought of practicing healing is healing. Like, this is so cool. So yeah, like epiphanies are going to happen. Something similar to me might happen to you, where you're like forced into a situation, but because like you thought you had taken care of it. This is literally like a lot of our spiritual work. You thought you took care of it, and you did, but it's just a little, you go a little, and either you did that or you're going to go through that, and then like once you come out of that, it's going to be like, oh, that's why I went through that. Okay. And you're going to be so glad you went through it, because it will just open up a whole different part of healing for you. So I think for the most part, what's just going to happen now is I'm going to cool the wax. I might make some colors. I did pull out black and I did pull out red. But I really like the white candles, and you can do a lot with white candles as far as like magic or intentions. You can always add like a black piece of paper or a red piece of paper to kind of influence the white, but white is void of color, so you can always add to it, whereas if it's already the color, usually it has like a specific energy that goes with it. So that's for today. I'll call this a little bit of everything, mostly the nervous system. Like, oh, do you have the nerve? Yes, you do. Okay, so I'm going to play a little harmonica to send us out. Hey, if you guys have any ideas about videos you'd like for me to talk about, because I'd love to, I love to talk about the goddesses and the sibyls. Also with this nervous system work, and I'll be doing more. You can actually talk to me directly, and we can do like a body scan type of exercise. Already tapping into like the somatic work that I've been sharing, where you massage yourself. Now we have a little bit more information to actually kind of maybe fine tune that and assist in specific poses and specific exercises that may assist you in healing your nervous system and the whole process of healing all around. All right, check out my Patreon and put a little comment down below. You can also, let's see, yeah, Patreon. And you can check me out on Instagram. I don't do as much there. I do a lot more here, but you can always check me out on Instagram at Amy Mon on Instagram. Okay. Amy Mon 1996 or 1969, one of those two. I'm sure I'll pop up. And it's got like some art of my picture, so that you know, like, who's this person? Okay. All right. So Little Harmonica sent us out, and I'll post some pictures in the community so you can see the candles once they're finished. All right. So what you see me doing is I'm looking like it has numbers, see? And one side does not have numbers. So I like to use the side with the numbers, and the 1 is typically, and then the 10 is, so. See you next time.